What's up guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Jesus Martinez and I'm a local San Diego creator trying to go full-time. So make sure you subscribe to follow the journey. Alright guys, so today I wanted to talk about my Canon T3i. I've been using this camera when I'm vlogging because I'm holding the same distance and there isn't much need to change the focus on it. It doesn't have that ability while you're recording, so it kind of sucks for video. I've been thinking about shooting photos with it and just use my ADD for all my video purposes. And then this thing happened. So a little bit of story time. My family decided to rent a house in Ensenada and we decided to go down there for a couple of days. I didn't want to lug around my Canon 80D, neither did I want to carry that 1750 Sigma that I'm always shooting with because it's a really bulky setup and I didn't want to be carrying that around in Mexico. I'm not sketched out about Mexico that much. I lived there for a bit. Regardless, I didn't want to carry it around. It just gets annoying and it stops the photos, it stops the fun, it stops the family time, and I didn't want to carry the 80D. I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna shoot for fun. I'm just gonna take the T3i, whatever, we'll see what comes out of it. To my surprise, I got a lot of good photos that I really like. A lot of these are very personal as it is my family, and I figured to some it might not mean the same, but there are a couple shots that I did take that I was very pleased with. Aside from that, most of these photos I try to pick the ones that had the most bokeh or the most shadows and highlights that were covered, and I felt like were sort of a good composition. I'm just gonna go over the photos and talk to you guys about my experience shooting with the Canon T3i. And again, it is 2019 and at a time where everyone just talks about gear and there's all these new stuff coming out. I feel like people that don't have the money or are not in the position to do it kind of feel left out, like they can't get into photography for one reason or another. Sometimes it's just not all about the gear, you know? I mean, personally, I've been debating and I want to switch to Sony, but it is a lot of money for me to be able to switch to Sony right now as I've invested somewhat into Canon with the flashes, with the lenses, extra batteries, and other stuff that I'd have to be selling and buying the new Sony stuff for me to be able to switch over to Sony. This video is intended for those of you that have been wanting to shoot with a DSLR but don't know which one or don't know how much money you might need. Again, I shot all this with my Canon T3i and a Pancake lens, which is the 24mm Pancake lens, and it goes all the way down to 2.8 on the aperture, so it's a pretty good setup. It's very tiny. Hold on. So this is my T3i, and again, I was shooting with the 24mm macro lens. So I mean, look at the setup, it's pretty tiny. Not comparing it to a A63 or any of the Sony line, but this is a pretty tiny setup, and this cost around maybe mid 300s. Body's like 200 bucks, the lens is about 100. The lens is 130 bucks. So $200 for the body and 130 for the lens, roughly 330, 340 around there. Extra batteries you're going to need. But this is now my traveling kit for now. Alright, so let's jump into it. Most of these photos I shot were kind of sets. I wanted to tell a story because later on I know I'm gonna forget most of these moments, and I wanted to take me back to that time and remember, I don't know, whatever, something funny happened. And I did take a lot of shots like that to where I can look at it and 5 years from now, 10 years, I'll be able to look at it and remember the joke or something. And you know, that's one thing I love about photography. Like, it takes you back to that one moment in time and it brings all these memories that, I mean, you would have just forgotten if you would have never taken a photo of it. But again, enough rambling, let's get started with it. When we got there to Ensenada, there was an amazing Airbnb. It was right next to the beach, literally walking distance to the beach. So of course, my nieces and nephews, the first thing they wanted to do was go and collect seashells. So we decided to go out on a seashell journey exploration. I'm going to be showing you guys the photos as I go through and talk a little bit more of what I did in the edits to kind of show you why I definitely was not disappointed with shooting with the T3i. I honestly thought I wouldn't be able to recover anything from highlights and shadows, and I was really surprised. Now remember guys, I was shooting in RAW, so that is a huge takeaway when it comes to the editing, and so I was able to pull the shadows and the highlights and mess around a lot with the colors and everything, and the photos didn't fall apart. So starting off, we were collecting seashells. I honestly didn't think I would be able to get any of sky in these photos, but to my surprise, I was actually able to recover a lot of the highlights in the sky, and the exposure came out pretty good. I actually liked it. I was pretty happy with it. As you guys can see in some of these photos, the exposure in the sky is pretty good and my subjects are well exposed. I really like this one in particular with my niece showing her hands and the nice bokeh in the back. I thought it came out pretty good. I got a couple of portraits of my nephews. This was one that when I shot, I thought it would be totally gone for, but the sky was actually pretty good. I was able to recover it. There was an overcast day, so keep in mind the light wasn't that harsh. Thankfully, we had some really nice light. So the day continued, and of course, kids are gonna be funny and doing funny stuff, but it was a pretty fun time. I got this really cool portrait of my nephew, which I'm super proud of. I got a couple more, but I really like this one. I feel like it really captured him in it. From there, we got to the sunset, which was kind of my favorite time of the day. I didn't like the stairs there, but again, I was surprised by how much detail I was able to get in the sky and from the shadows. Now, these are a lot of portraits I did. This one in particular, I don't remember exactly, but I know I was shooting at about 800 to 1000 in the ISO. It only has a couple options for ISO, but I was busting it out pretty freaking hard. I had a couple of these from when we started playing poker, and you can see there's a lot of grain and discoloring in the images, but I like it. I mean, like I said, this is something I'm going to be using for whenever I go out with my family and go hang out places, and I don't want to lug around my 80D with a 1750. Yeah, a really nice small Sony or an M50 would be really nice, but I don't have the money right now, and my T3i with the Pancake lens can really get it done. I got this one. This is my wife, and she was actually pitching the cards. We actually deal blackjack, so if you're wondering how we got those skills, there you go. And then, like I mentioned, all of these photos at night are gonna have a lot of grain. It was just pretty tough on the sensor, but honestly, I'm really happy with the results. It was fast enough for me to catch that card in the middle. I actually turned that light that is yellow, it was actually a green, so I shifted the color into a yellow. I felt like it went a little bit better with the blue right next to it. And then you have a little bit of fire in the bottom right corner. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Just a couple detail shots to try to tell a story. By the way, I won in poker night, if you were wondering. So the next day we decided to go to the Bufalora, which was honestly like a 15-minute drive, 10-minute. That house was in the perfect setting. So we went there, and I was pretty stoked about it because I've been wanting to shoot more Mexico stuff, and I've never really had the how do I say this, the guts to go down there and just carry my camera around like whatever, and it's nobody's business. I'm not really used to it. I can do that here, and even here I've gotten cussed out, but I'm not sure how people are going to be taking it down there in Mexico, as I feel like it's less calming. Regardless, I went down there and I did it, and it was super fun. I got some really cool shots down here, and let me show you guys. So I started off with my wife eating these amazing chips. They're fat-free according to this guy. I doubt they're fat-free, but they're really good chips. Anyways, they're homemade chips. We always get these when we cross the border. So I got this shot of her eating the chips. Right away, I decided, you know, I needed to get a cool detail shot of the chips. And of course, we had to get some of these very Mexican bracelets. I have a lot of these already, but did some detail shots, and I was actually able to get this guy. I asked him if I could take some photos. He said he didn't mind. After I was taking a couple photos, he got really weird and was looking at me kind of weird. Anyways, cool guy. Shout out to the guy. Thank you for being a homie for that. Went right over to the cliff, and I wanted to take a photo of this rock, and this was one of my favorite photos. And this is going back to the why this T3i is actually pretty good. So I opened up my aperture. I shot this at about a 4.5, and I was able to get a pretty good enough detail in the rocks. The birds were just flying around, and I was able to capture it in a perfect timing. I only shot about like 4 or 5 frames, and I was able to catch it. The camera doesn't offer a lot of goodies, but it's more than enough to do what I want to do in a vacation. So I was able to get this, and again, the details in the highlights are really nice. I was able to recover the sky from this photo. More details in the rock. It was more shadow, it was more dark in there, so I was able to pull up the shadows in there, and it actually came up to a really nice exposure. Again, I was shooting raw, so I messed around with all the colors, and I got this really cool shot. I was really happy with this one, actually. It was one of my favorite ones from the trip, and to my surprise, I was not expecting I would get something like that. Honestly, I was just thinking of getting family portraits here and there, but this was really cool. So of course, you gotta get that Bufalora shot with the water bursting out onto the people. It was kind of lame. Water wasn't even that freaking high like it usually is. So we were there for a bit. I got some seafood and all. Amazing seafood in Ensenada. You guys should check it out. Very cheap, a little bit ghetto, but really awesome place to check out. I love Mexico. Anyways, we headed back, and I got this really dope portrait of my nephew right in the window, and the light is just beautiful. Like, I mean, look at it. The detail you can see right through the car's windows, and it's that beautiful blue. I switched it to a little bit teal, obviously, but just the light hitting my nephew is so soft, and I really like this shot. It was one of my favorite ones as well. I feel like I say that a lot. I like some of these photos a lot. It's my family. So we continued. My father-in-law was driving his bike, and it was pretty dope. And they actually got my little nephew a little bike outfit. So he got right into it, and I had to catch a portrait of him in it. and I was not disappointed with it. And again, this is all with my T3i and a Pancake lens. I did more shots while we were riding and trying to do some panning shots of cars and stuff, and I've been failing at it so bad. So this is the first time I actually get them right, and it was with my T3i. I dropped down my shutter to about 50, and I was able to get those nice blurs going on with the images, and I got a couple of my family here. This trip really reminded me why I love photography, and it actually happened with the T3i. So I wanted to share that with you guys. If you're kind of like bummed out that you can't afford those big expensive new cameras or so, mirrorless and all that good stuff, don't put yourself down. You know, you can always afford a $200 camera if you save enough money, put the money into it. You know, you will be able to afford something that you can go out and shoot and make some good work with. Now, I'm going to be shooting everything with my 80D if I have any jobs or anything coming out, because I do have more leeway in the ISO or so. But for what it's worth, this T3i packed a lot of goodies in it. Got me to have a lot of fun with it, and I was able to make a lot of cool photos. So again, for a time when everything's all about the gear, I thought it was really cool that I was able to get some good shots with the T3i, and I felt like I had to just put it out there and share it with you guys here on YouTube. So if you're thinking of buying a camera and you can't afford that $1,000 camera, don't worry about it. You know, $200 cameras can offer you quite enough things for someone that's just starting out. I mean, in my case, for a little travel camera, it's more than enough. So there you go, guys. Go out there, have fun, and create. Honestly, that's what it's all about. You gotta just have fun with it. And when it just comes down to gear, you can't be stressing out about it. I'm not worried about it. I'd love to have that Sony, but regardless, I can wait. Alright guys, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys like this type of videos, don't forget to give it a like. Comment if you guys have any questions. If you guys want to check out my work, it is at Widow Visuals, and my website, widowvisuals.com, down there. Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you guys want to see more content, again, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.